No gold, no jewels, and in fact, no money at all was involved in this heist. All that was stolen were 13 pieces of art. 13 pieces of art valued at $500 million. Masterpieces created by Degas and Vermeer were ripped from their frames at the Gardner Museum in Boston and vanished as the clock struck midnight on March 18, 1990. Iconic works of art such as Rembrandt's Storm on the Sea of Galilee were simply torn from their frames, never to return, leaving behind empty frames that remain to this day. And when the FBI arrived in the morning, art too large or too cumbersome to be stolen was simply strewn across the floors. And of the thieves, there was no trace. But why art? Why steal something so fragile, something so impossible to profit from? Perhaps it's for the intrinsic value, but if so, where does this value come from? A few brushstrokes and pigments could hardly be worth millions of dollars. And yet, they are. Why? The answers to these questions are buried deep in the past. Let's explore how the value of art is often influenced more by history rather than composition, through the life and conquests of the greatest art thief of all time, Napoleon Bonaparte. Idolized as the most competent man who ever lived, according to historian Martin van Creveld, Napoleon still reigns as a symbol of both genius and power. But although revered for these traits, the French general had a penchant for theft. It all began in the 1790s with the grand opening of the Louvre in Paris, the world's largest museum, a grandiose testament to France as the epicenter of the art world and a trophy case for future conquest. But there was a problem. The walls were bare. The Louvre needed a champion to fill its halls with art and found it in Napoleon. In 1796, the young General Bonaparte had just been given command of the French army in Italy and was poised in a perfect position to steal some of the most valuable treasures in not just Europe, but the world. Upon arrival in Italy, Napoleon and his advisors began their masterminding crusade of Heist to furnish the Louvre, starting with a painting hung on the wall of the Venetian monastery. Now, Paolo Veronesi's Wedding at Cana is a fairly typical Renaissance painting, only made remarkable by one aspect: how difficult it was to steal. See, this painting is roughly the size of 150 Mona Lisas stitched together and weighs over 1.5 tons. But the stature of this painting was undaunting to Napoleon. Rather, it fascinated him. And so one evening, Napoleon and his army broke into the monastery, ripped the giant painting from the wall, sliced it up, and stole it away to the Louvre, where it remains to this day. But just one heist could not sate Napoleon, who continued to steal for both the Louvre and his personal collection, until he had, in his words, all that is beautiful in Italy. Art that was stolen and stolen again became a theme of Napoleon's campaigns. In Venice, he stole a statue of 4 Greek horses, previously stolen from Athens. And in Egypt, after Napoleon's men discovered the Rosetta Stone, it was stolen from the French by the British. And the result was cumulative. The desirability and therefore the value of these pieces accrued with each high-profile incident of its capture and subsequently its return. And in turn, the colorful histories of art, rather than the brushstrokes and pigments used in creating, became one of the greatest standards for value. And Napoleon would set a precedent for centuries to come, inspiring countless others, including Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and perhaps the thieves at the Gardner Museum. In 2015, the Gardner Museum offered a new reward for just one of the 13 pieces of art believed by investigators to be the key to solving the heist. $100,000 for a small bronze eagle stolen from atop an 18th century French flag owned by none other than Napoleon Bonaparte. The French general's legacy lives on in a crime committed nearly 2 centuries after his death. And perhaps this isn't surprising. Napoleon may not have been the first to create the shadow art theft in the world, but he certainly lent his legacy to magnifying this crime across centuries. Today, Interpol lists over 40,000 pieces of art were still missing or unreturned across the globe. 13 stolen from the Gardner Museum, thousands stolen by Napoleon. And perhaps the absence of this art may tell a far greater story than the art itself ever could. Each empty frame and bare pedestal in museums and galleries the world over speaks of a collective history, rooted deeply in theft and conquest. The Scream, the Mona Lisa, and of course, Rembrandt's Storm, these are some of the most culturally valuable and well-known objects in the world, not prized for their composition, but for their adventures in the hands of curators, conquerors, and thieves alike.